Welcome, everyone, to our May 2021 edition of Cabaret Conversations. I am I am your host, Michael Kirk Lane. A couple of directions before we get started. As I've said, please keep your cameras off until we get to our group discussion portion of the evening. It just makes the internet gods like us a little bit more to keep that bandwidth smaller for the majority of the evening. This is our 12th edition of Cabaret Conversations. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to Cabaret Conversations through the 92nd Street Y School of Music. I am Michael Kirk Lane, and it has been my absolute joy during this pandemic to start this series through the School of Music. Tonight's edition is our 12th edition and the close of our first year of programming of Cabaret Conversations. And I am so thrilled to end the year with tonight's guest. He is a Grammy Award winner, a two-time Emmy Award winner. Of course, he is best known for his musical directing for 6 seasons of The Rosie O'Donnell Show. On Broadway, his work as a music director and arranger and orchestrator has been seen in the revival of Grease in 1994, Annie Get Your Gun with Bernadette Peters, Brooklyn, Catch Me If You Can, Taboo, and Bonnie and Clyde. He is the 2001 recipient of the MAC Board of Directors Award. Also has a couple MAC nominations to his name as well. And he is, of course, the artistic director of the O'Neill Cabaret and Performance Conference. Please welcome to Cabaret Conversations, John McDaniel. Hi, John.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
I am doing so well. Thank you so much for agreeing
What a
to be
pleasure.
part of this series.
Nice to be here.
I am thrilled that you are here. So let's dive right in.
12 months, huh? Can you
12
believe it?
months. I know. We started this in June of last year. The School of Music's like, what can we do with Cabaret? What can we do
Right.
virtually with Cabaret? It's
That's
like, but
great.
let's record some stories. Let's get some important people in the world of Cabaret to come on and tell why they love the art form and why the art forms existed for so long. And so
Right on.
that's what we've been doing. How did the world of Cabaret first find you, John?
Wow. So I grew up in the Midwest where there is no cabaret. Well, now
Uh,
there's a little bit, but there
there's a
wasn't.
little now, yeah.
There is, yeah. Um, but actually, my dad was visiting New York once a year for a bars. He is a lawyer for the Bar Association in New York, and I was going to Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, and so I flew in to meet him for the weekend,
Mm.
probably like 1980, January, very cold, and he took me to the Carlisle to see Bobby Short,
Oh,
and it changed my life. I had no idea what I was in for. I don't know. I don't think I had even heard of Bobby Short at that point. I might have, he might have been on my radar, but nothing compared to being
mm,
in that beautiful room, watching him in action. And he was, the king,
yeah.
the most beautiful pianist and singer and storyteller and raconteur. And I mean, I was like, I said to myself and to dad that night, where can I get more of this? I need more of this. And because I love musicals and I grew up with musicals and plays and,
Mm,
where everybody is on stage being somebody else.
right.
And this was like, oh my gosh, he's being himself. He's like doing what the way he wants to do it and telling the story the way it comes, completely naturally to
Mm.
him. And it was a revelation. It really was.
So after Carnegie Mellon, it took a while for you to come back to the world of Cabaret. Talk us through that artistic journey from graduating from Carnegie Mellon until 93, 94, when you hit the city in such a huge way.
Right. So I spent 10 years living in LA. And I loved LA. And I
Mhm.
actually did some cabaret. I played for Edie Adams for a little
Mm.
while. I played for Peter Matz's wife, Marilyn Lovell. We did some shows, um, and some concerts and things, um, but nothing really. So then I moved to New York and did the first revival of Grease. You know, you're old when you can say the first revival of Grease with the Tommy Tune
Mhm.
production with Rosie O'Donnell and Billy Porter and Megan Mullally, and just the most amazing company. Um, And so then I realized, okay, I love being in New York. This is great. And I remember seeing, actually right before that, when I was still living in LA, I went to see Mary Claire Heron, who also was, to me, a goddess of the art form, and uh, just being in her moment and doing her thing. And
Mhm.
so during Greece, I started going to the Duplex and Don't Tell Mama and all the great cabaret rooms, the Metropolitan Room,
Mhm.
um, and seeing a lot of things. But I was really busy doing Broadway shows and symphonic concerts mostly. But some of the symphonic concerts sort of had element of cabaret for sure. Um, but then uh, about 10 years ago, actually nine, this is my ninth summer at the O'Neill. I had been working at 54 Below, playing for Leslie Uggams and
Mhm.
just tons of wonderful folks, and became acquainted with Tom Vertel, who is one of the three owners
Yep.
of 54 Below, and he's also the chairman of the board at the O'Neill. And he'd seen me in action, and we were always friendly and chatting. And the artistic director position at the O'Neill became available, and he asked me, "Would this be anything that might interest you?" And I just thought, "Oh my gosh, this is so perfect for me. I can't tell you how it's like it's the perfect job for me. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
Did I mention I love it? I really do.
Do
And
you love it?
I
How do you
do.
feel
I
about
love it. I love it. It's so anyway. Then I had to go and meet and do an interview with Tom and Preston Whiteway, who was then the executive director. And most of the time in my life, people just call me and ask me to do things. They just say, "Would you do this on this date?" And I say, "Yes, I'd love to." Rarely do I have to like go on a job interview. So of course,
it?
completely, hoping against hope that I'm going to get it. But I don't know who else they're talking to.
Right.
So it went really well, and I was offered the job after, and said yes enthusiastically. And this will be my ninth summer, which I can't believe it's been 9 years, but as you know, I love it, so that's okay.
Well, let's talk more about the O'Neill since we're there now.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the history of the originally the Cabaret Symposium, which is now the Cabaret Performance Conference.
Yes.
Margaret Whiting was the original artistic director.
Well, so it was created by Betsy White, excuse me, not Betsy Wolf. She's been busy.
She's been
Betsy,
very busy,
Betsy,
much earlier than we knew.
she's much older than she looks. Um, Betsy Wolf, who is the wife of George Wolf, who was the founder of the O'Neill, and Ellie Ellsworth, and they put together the Cabaret Symposium. And yes, Margaret was early involved. And then there was a weird, I don't really know the complete story, but it moved to Yale for a little bit. And I
Okay.
think it's Irv Rabel days. And then it was brought back to the O'Neill because folks missed it. And Michael Bush ran it for many, many years. Um, and then I took over. Uh, so it has evolved, and I think it was when they started. It was like a Friday and Saturday, short. We
Hmm.
do now 10 days, and it's intense. And we literally start first thing in the morning, and we're working and doing singing and cabaret and performance and the whole thing right up until time to go to bed and get up and do it all over again. It's super intense and super fun. And by the end, everyone, including myself, every year is changed. And we have learned so much and grown and found uh, ourselves and experienced this beautiful campus in Waterford. It's hard to describe, but I'll try. There are some old buildings spaced around quite a large, nice sized campus with a huge lawn that slopes down to the Sound. So the beach is right down this beautiful long lawn, and then through kind of a little path, and then you wind up on the beach, and it's glorious and wonderful to go down there when you have time to go over lyrics or figure out your attack on something or whatever. And but we have a complete cafeteria, food service um, operation, and dorms and rooms. Really beautiful new housing. 4 years ago, brand new housing, which has been a real boon because the housing used to be kind of cramping and people people who are there, before this new housing say, "Oh, I can't believe. How do you sleep at night?" Well, it's really nice now. But
I've heard the same from Pam Arciero from the puppetry conference. So
right, exactly right.
yeah.
So I love her. I think she's in her 18th year,
Hmm.
um, or even longer, maybe. Anyway, um, I love. She's wonderful.
She, a dear friend. So I hear
Oh, I'm
many
so
O'Neill
glad to hear
stories
it.
from Pam.
I'm so glad to hear that. You know that I've often thought, and I still think that a collaboration, but so the O'Neill Summer starts with Pam's conference, the
Hmm.
Puppetry Conference, which is one of two great conferences of the world, and people come from everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's amazing. So they started off, and then we have new plays, new musicals, critics, and then cabaret is at the end of the summer, sort of like the cherry on the top of the sundae, I always say. But I've often thought, wouldn't it be cool if we had a collaboration between puppetry and cabaret? And this is sort of a little bit of a dream of mine, is to figure out something somewhere someday.
Oh, I want to be in on that meeting to make that happen.
Oh, okay, good. You're invited.
All right. There's actually some interesting cabaret artists now who are from the puppetry world
Right.
and have been doing residencies at the Beachman.
Yes.
Uh, Jennifer Barnhart uses puppetry in her cabaret
So
show.
good. Yeah.
Leslie Carrera Rudolph does a lot of puppetry in her programs. So I think there's a seed of a great, great idea there.
Yeah.
And you and Pam are both amazing artists who can work together and make it happen.
Yeah. We've talked about it briefly, but I need to revisit the idea.
Mm. So, is there in your role as the artistic director, is there a certain philosophy you like to bring to the cabaret conference?
Gosh. Um, so there are, I always, and I think I alluded to it before, but I'm always interested in finding out who who is this artist.
Hmm.
Um, who are you, and can you access that? And can you tell us? Can you show us? Can you be who you are, and just let us come to you? Um, there there's a real tendency to kind of push and over sing, and there's a lot of things that we all do because we're really doing our best to do what we do. But I think honesty and simplicity and economy are all words that I enjoy exploring with artists, and that's both for the fellows who are studying during the day and night, but also the pros that come up and do shows at night. So we have 10 nights of professional programming, and the fellows who come to study come to all of those shows. And most often, the next morning, we'll have a master class with the person who performed the night before, and that's an invaluable exercise, I think. Because you've just seen this artist, you've just seen Tommy Toon do his thing, and now he's going to come in the next morning and do Q&A or a workshop or um, whatever sort of they want to do, however they feel like their
They
talent
can
can be
give, yeah.
utilized for those 3 hours. So that's exciting. I went off on a tangent. Did I answer your question?
We were talking just philosophy about
Right,
of you as
right.
artistic director. So yes, I think you
Yeah.
did.
I think
The,
also, just great attention to musical detail, and as I said, the storytelling and the arc. Um, how are you different at the end of the song than you were when
mhm.
you started? Stuff like that. I think just trying to find the real essence of what, like Mary Clear Heron, she just did it intrinsically. She knew how to bring the audience along in a very simple, real way, with a glorious gift of the voice that she had. I miss her.
I
I
mean,
love
that's
her.
same with, as she aged, Mabel Mercer,
Oh, absolutely.
who had a gorgeous soprano in her youth.
Right. But
And
became this monster storyteller
yeah,
from
and
the chair.
for just sitting, it could hold
Did you ever
huge
see her?
rooms.
You're
I
way too
never saw
young.
her live.
Yeah,
No,
I didn't either.
I've done a deep dive on her via YouTube. Via KT
Yeah.
has given me KT
There's some
Sullivan.
great interviews of her on YouTube. Yeah,
Mhm.
really interesting.
And of course, in teaching, we have a cabaret history class that we do through 92Y. So of course, there's a lot of Mabel involved in
For
that.
sure.
Uh,
Absolutely.
how do you choose your master teachers for the O'Neill? how do you pick those people that these are the right performers or artists to bring in to work with the fellows?
So I choose people who I would like to spend 2 weeks with.
Fair.
I have been. I was my first year. I asked Westla Whitfield and Mike Greensill to come because I have been long fans of their performances at the Algonquin and so many other places. But I was so happy that I did, and unfortunately, we lost Westla not long after that. Donna McKechnie has been a master artist teacher, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my first year, I brought Barb Younger to the O'Neill. I had just so for years I'd heard about this woman, Barb Younger,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd never met her and never seen her. And I'd always thought, oh gosh, there's this sort of she's a big presence in cabaret, certainly in London, one of the finest, and then even in in New York and the States. Never seen her. Finally, a friend invited me to come with him, and I said, okay, I'll go. And I sat there like, who is this creature? So I realized that I had just gotten the O'Neill gig, and I said, I've got to bring her to the O'Neill. So I went up to her at the end of the show, and I bought a bunch of. She had all these CDs, and I bought a bunch of them and had her sign them. And I went up to her and I said, I have to know you, and we have to work together, and we have to be friends. And I always say she called security because it was a little stalkerish, admittedly, but completely heartfelt. And so we did. I was on the train on the way home, and we became Facebook friends. And then, so I invited her to come and do a performance, and she opened my first season, and nobody knew what had hit them. I mean, it was really transformative and fantastic. And then the next morning she had to leave, and I was so sad. I remember really being sad, like, I wish you could stay. So the next year I invited her to come and stay the whole time, and she's been kind of a steady spirit for us up there for many years. She's not coming this year, mostly because of COVID, but also I do want to and like to break it up. So last year we were virtual, wah,
Right.
wah, because
The world was on pause.
right, a global pandemic,
Yeah.
as Willie Halston says. Um, so uh, so I was happy to invite Natalie Douglas, who I had been wanting.
Mm-hmm.
I'd had Natalie up to perform, but she was one of our master teachers last year, and she's returning this year in person. Her first on-site summer at the O'Neill, so that's great. And she's doing a show, and
Natalie is the
her
best.
Tammy Davis show, which is just too good.
Mm-hmm.
And Lenny Watts is coming back this year again. He's been with us for many years, and he's great. And we're both from St.
Mm-hmm.
Louis, so that's fun. And I think it's I'm interested in excellent teachers, people who can really listen
Mm-hmm.
and collaborate. And as I said in the beginning, who I want to be with for 2 weeks.
That makes sense. What are you looking for in your fellows?
Oh wow!
How is that process going through the applications and choosing
Yeah, we
the
have a
fellows that you want to spend the 2 weeks with?
right. So we uh, I was so delighted this year. We had a really robust application set
Good.
of applicants, and there the lid office and I go through the submissions
Mm-hmm.
and really take care to really kind of see where somebody is and um, what their interest might be. And we have a form that you fill out about what you imagine you might do at the conference and your experience. And so I like to have some green folks and some really experienced folks because I think everyone learns
From
from
each other,
everyone.
of course.
And I always love to mix it up, men and women, young and old, black and white, if I can. I
Mm-hmm.
wish more folks of color would apply, and um, this year that did happen. So
Good.
happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's also trying, the sort of the mix of we offer a scholarship, but it's not massive, and a lot of people just can't afford it. So it comes down to who are the mix. It's complicated, right? This is a long answer. It's
But no, this is what we want to hear.
But for me, it's the right mix of people, um, most of whom, frankly, can afford the tuition because
Hmm.
we're a tuition-based conference. Um, so it's a jigsaw puzzle, but it's to me really fascinating and fun, and um, one of my favorite parts of the job, actually.
What makes good cabaret? What's some, if you happen into a cabaret room, a performer you've never seen before, what's the thing that really goes, they know what they're doing?
I suppose it's a spark of uniqueness and confidence and kind of knowing what you're doing, but also being aware that if a glass falls over there, you're not going to maybe pretend like it didn't happen.
Hmm.
So it's a funny, to me, it's like a tightrope of being really super prepared, but also open to whatever happens.
Hmm.
The bass player just fell over, or, whatever is going on. And you can, it's awkward, I think, when you watch a performance and we're all in this room together and someone is up there pretending like they're at Carnegie Hall and they can't see anyone or hear anyone,
Hmm.
and then a tray drops and eight glasses shatter and they just go on. And I just want, I think I'm going back to the honesty and aspect, and being in the moment,
Hmm.
like all good actors are, even in a Broadway show that will, if someone on stage drops a tray, there's, that's different. Oh my gosh.
But it's that honesty that you're bringing up and the storytelling that makes this art form uniquely what it is.
I think
That
so.
we're in the room together, you're telling that story, and the audience, Alina Katrakis is the first person I heard say this. I've heard many since, but the audience in cabaret really does become your scene partner.
Yes.
They're
Yeah.
the silent scene partner that's in it with you through the whole time.
Correct. I mean, you could do a cabaret at home with yourself, without the audience,
Hmm.
and some people do, but it's not the same. And that response that you get, and or the lack of response. Oh, I mean, whatever's happening, whatever it is, I think that being alive in that moment
Hmm.
is paramount and makes for a dance,
Yeah,
between the audience and the performer and the pianist or
and it's what
whatever
makes
you're doing.
the art form much harder than it looks.
It is, I think. It is,
It's
I think.
that the lack of the fourth wall and the lack of the character to hide behind.
That's scary. It's
Hmm.
scary. And a lot of people think, "Oh, I'm opening up. I'm open." But the walls are,
Hmm.
12 feet high, and but maybe they'll peek around the wall a little bit, and that's encouraging. Um, but I think, what makes a good cabaret uh, is also incredible song selection. Like,
Hmm.
what songs are you putting out there? Are you singing shit material? Like, don't do that.
Yeah,
Like, sing really good. You can choose any song in the
anything.
world. Like, choose good material and material that you want to sing, and stories that you want to tell. I think
Hmm.
that's super important.
It's an art form that, if done correctly, the audience leaves knowing a little more about you, but hopefully you're through that storytelling and honesty, letting them open up something in themselves in that
Absolutely,
same moment.
absolutely. There's nothing more beautiful than that kind of suspension and transporting to a faraway place with a performer who is so skilled and so
Hmm.
prepared. Um, you've got to know the music. You've got to learn it really well. Every half step, every word that the lyricist wrote is what they wanted. That's what they
Hmm.
chose, and that's what they put down. And you wouldn't believe the lack of attention to that sometimes. It's quite alarming. I always try to really get the lyrics right. I don't always get them right, but I really do try.
I think we all have those moments where, well,
Ah,
that was not the correct lyric, but here we go.
but there you have it. And I always cop to it because,
Yep.
people know, people are
Yeah.
the audience is listening, like the THX thing.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it to her in person. Nobody improvises Sondheim in a pinch like KT Sullivan.
Hmm.
She owned it during her Sondheim run. I was like, If you didn't know the song, KT, nobody would have known that that wasn't the actual Sondheim lyric, and I don't know how you do that.
Yes, just keep going.
Who are, other than you mentioned Bobby Short, which he's in that list of artists that I so wish I would have had the opportunity to see. But who are some other artists as you were on those trips into the city, or when you first got here in the early '90s? Who were the artists in this art form that you were drawn to, that inspired you?
So two come to mind. Blossom Dearie,
Hmm.
who I did get to know right near the end of her life, and I am mad for her voice and her interpretation of stuff. And playing is so elegant and beautiful. I remember there was a place in the village called Horn of Plenty, and right on the corner of and 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 she was doing a set, and it was absolutely glorious. And then I saw her at Danny's Skylight,
Hmm.
right, many years later. Um, she always she grabbed me. She grabbed me because she was uniquely herself. She wasn't trying to be anybody else but her very odd little self, and it was great. It was great. And the other one is Barbara Carroll.
Hmm.
Um, Barbara Carroll, I first heard in New York, and I don't remember. I guess it was Bemelman's Bar. Um, uh, late one night, incredible. But then, when I was living in LA, she came out to the Westwood Hotel. Was that the name of it? Anyway, famous hotel just near the Westwood Playhouse.
Hmm.
And after after seeing a show at Westwood Playhouse, we'd often go up and hear Barbara Carroll. And she made many recordings as well, as we know, and was just herself with that slick back, beautiful red hair and the most gorgeous playing. I mean, nobody, she's a gorgeous player and interpreter of the great Cole Porter songs
Hmm.
and a lot of that just delicious Johnny Mercer stuff and really, really fantastic. She was really high in my book, and I honestly meant to bring her to the O'Neill, and she was on my real short list, and then she passed away like 3 years ago, I think.
Mm.
So I missed that one. Darn it.
Are
Um,
are there other artists out there today that, and we talked about Natalie already and Lenny and some of these master teachers, but are there other artists out there who are performing right now that you're like, these are the people who are doing it right, these are the people who get this art form?
I love Gabrielle Stravelli.
Hmm.
Um, again, incredible instrument, really knows her way around a lyric. Um, her instrument is kind of freaky, actually.
Yeah.
She's way, way up there. And I have had her to the O'Neill, and I'd love to have her again. Um, who else do I love? Now I don't want to leave anybody out, or I don't know. I mean, that's so. That's I have a really good list in my computer.
Well, after done, if you don't mind sharing it with me, I'd love to know your
I'll just
thoughts.
send you the word doc, and
I
off
love
we
it.
go.
So as you're working as a music director and an arranger, is your approach different when you're arranging for a symphony or for the Broadway stage? How does that differ when you're working specifically in the cabaret art form?
There are a lot of similarities, I guess. Um, I think that in the cabaret world, I think I'm looking to support the artist in their story, their arc.
Hmm.
Maybe the song is right, but the feel isn't right. Maybe it really needs to be slowed way down to really take time with some of these. Oh my gosh, Mary Clear Heron, I remember so clearly, did Something Sweet, Something Sort of Grandish,
Hmm.
which in Finian's Rainbow is kind of sing sweet, something sort of grand, kind of perky. And
Hmm.
she slowed it down and she savored every beautiful
Mm.
Yip Harburg lyric that was it was stunning, and it was a masterclass in, oh, make the song your own. How do you want to do it? Do you want to actually give it a real drive, a real what's going to make the song come alive for performer, whoever
Mm.
he or she is, or they are. Nowadays, you have, you
Yeah.
know. So, but that's also true for the theater. But for the theater, it's the character.
Right.
And so, what's the character going through? What's happening? Um, I had such a great time doing new arrangements for Anna Get Your Gun, partially because I had been in the show when I was in high school and I knew the score really well, but also I got to really get in the trenches with Graciela Danielle, the director, and Peter Stone, the book writer. And the three of us had many meetings figuring out, and Peter was still figuring out point A to point B. And we were taking out a lot of the Indian references
Hmm.
because we were feeling like they were, you know, just not good anymore. Um, and he punched up a lot of other stuff with the subplots that had been there but had sort of not been as illuminated as he wanted. So we spent a lot of time working on the characters and the story, and that was really so helpful when I went to begin to set the arrangements for Bernadette and Tom and everybody who was in the show. Um, yeah, and symphonically, it's completely another world because it has mostly to do with the music and the splash of it and the while there is some storytelling, it's much more about the colors and the opportunities that you have with an orchestra that you don't have with a cabaret.
Right.
If that makes any sense at all.
How do you, as you're teaching, as you're working with fellows, the fine line that happens where, and I think it's coming out of a lot of maybe college programs that don't understand the world of cabaret like they should while they're teaching it. So a lot of young college people are coming to the city, and their first cabaret shows a weird musical theater recital.
Yeah, well said.
How do you find your way out of that with people you're working with into that honest, simplistic?
I think it's just song by song,
Mhm.
word by word, phrase by phrase. Um, and we do talk about putting shows together, but the O'Neill experience is not really like you will come out 10 days later with a show, because what you really will have done is done really minuscule, intense, stripping away, building, falling, getting back up
Mhm.
again work that is invaluable in your life, in your journey as an artist. I think we have a motto at the O'Neill: risk, fail, and risk again.
Mhm.
So you can make a big mistake, and everyone will still love you, but then you can get back up and try again. And I think that's important. That safety net of being allowed to really suck, but you're
Mhm.
trying something. Okay, that didn't work, but actually this part did. So what if I did this a little long? It's
That's how we grow as artists.
yeah, and learn, and it's there is so much to it, and I think a
Mhm.
lot of folks actually think, oh, it looks so easy. I'll just get up and sing
Mhm. 12 songs that I really love.
12 Rodgers and Hammerstein songs that I
Mhm.
love, and we're so bored and so dead.
Mhm.
um, yeah, so I would say you can break out of it by doing the work.
When you're working with artists, not necessarily at the O'Neill, but when you're doing a full cabaret program with someone, what is that collaboration process like for you?
A cabaret show
Hmm.
with somebody, a lot of talking, a lot of lists, going back and forth on what might be. Do we need a theme? Do we really need a theme? Well, but I do have this idea. Oh, well, maybe that's the first part of the show, and then the second half is evolved into where I am now, or whatever your thing is. Like, but there has to be a thing. I think.
Yeah, an
Um,
arc.
I think something to so that we feel as an audience that we've had an experience and not
Mhm.
just a collage of snapshots of 12 different writers. Or
Mhm.
I think,
Not a weird musical theater recital.
yeah, yeah, right. So it's a, a lot of back and forth with what are we going to do, and then how are we going to place it in the perfect part of your voice so that you can be free to express that song. And what's the feel, what's the intro, are we going to talk in the middle, is there a reason to stop? And Barb Younger's great at this because
Mhm.
she'll have an instinct about singing a certain bit of a song and then say, I've got a great story that would just drop in there so great about walking in Scotland or whatever kind of crazy thing it is. But you realize, oh my gosh, this is, I'm understanding this song by hearing this personal story
Mhm.
attached. And sometimes that is a killer device, I think. Um, that, but it doesn't work all the time, and you have to use it sparingly. But it can really personalize it, and that's, I'm coming back to, who is this person?
Mhm. That that lack of fourth wall, that
I
honesty,
want to
that
know
is
the
what makes it
person.
work.
Yeah, and I want to, I want to, I want to get them. I want to get their essence and why they're singing this song to me. It's not.
It
There's nothing arbitrary about it.
When Cheetah Rivera was on the series, she talked about it's that made her so scared the first time she did a nightclub act, that she wasn't ready to let go of putting on a character.
Right.
It wasn't willing to have that, ready to have that honesty
Yeah.
with the audience, which of course now she's one of the best at doing
Queen.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
she is. Gosh, I saw her at the New Ballroom uh, one night back when I was in college. I had just seen March of the Falsettos, if you can
Mm.
imagine. I was still breathing. I
Oh.
couldn't believe it. And then I went to the late show of Cheetah at the New Ballroom, and Liza was there with Halston. I'm not even kidding. I will never ever forget it. And it was the most thrilling show. And then I was like, I've always been a Cheetah fan. She was
Mhm.
really nice to me when I was young and approached her in a restaurant, and because she's the greatest.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of friends, and it's she's pinched me.
She is someone who is so honest and true and giving in what she does,
Absolutely true.
which is what makes her also not only an amazing human, but in this art form, so good at what she does.
100%. Huge fan. And
Um,
she takes the steps. She works on it. She knows
mhm.
what she's doing and what she's singing.
She has the team she trusts to do that collaboration work with her.
Right.
So you talked about the first time you brought Barb to the O'Neill after seeing her, but that really kind of blossomed into a wonderful partnership between the two of you.
It really did. Just as I had said the first night, we're going to work together and make two recordings together to date. We have
Hmm.
other ideas. In fact, what is today? Yesterday we had a long talk. She's of course in the UK, and we talk every couple of weeks. Maybe sometimes it's six, but it's usually more like every 2 or 3 weeks. And and we're because I've one of the uh, so yes, I'm going off. But one of the upsides of this weird pandemic has been that I've been able to learn some technology that I never would have taken the time to learn, like Logic, which is sort of like it's the Apple Pro Tools. It's amazing stuff, and I'm now having friends send vocals, and I'm importing them and tuning and mixing and making these um, insane to me, uh, recordings of stuff. And so Barb and I, we have been working together for many years. And um, in fact, I had for many, many years not been super comfortable playing and singing. I mean, I'd done some of it, but it wasn't, I was not, I was like Cheetah. I was like that, a little afraid to be completely myself, not sure, a little like trying to be funny, but on things that aren't funny. Oh, it was awful. And so Barb and I, in our collaboration, one of the great things that I have taken away from this relationship, and we're still in it, but I've learned to try to just be me, and whatever is happening. And you uh, so so that's kind of it's a gift. she elevated my confidence level, um, because working with her is being she's on her tightrope and I'm on mine, and they're kind of the same, but they're kind of not. And so it's challenging and fun and exciting and thrilling and scary and wonderful
Well,
all at the same time.
I think this is with only one exception, the longest we've gone into cabaret conversations without showing a clip of our guest. So
Oh,
I think let's watch a little bit of you and Barb in action together.
oh my gosh, I'm so scared.
Don't be
No,
scared.
I'm not. No, I'm not. What is it? What have you got?
A little clip reel from some of your Beatles work
Oh
together.
my gosh.
All the lonely people, where do they all come from? All the lonely people, where do they all belong? Ah, look at all the lonely people. 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 He roller coaster, he got early warning, he got muddy water, he was mojo filter, he said and one is three. Got to be good looking cause he's so hard to see. Come together right now, come together right now, come together right now over me. Come together, yeah. Come together, yeah. Come together, yeah. You know I said, come together, yeah. Come together, yeah.
You can
Oh, that
see
is
the
so. I haven't
love between you there.
seen that. Oh my gosh, I haven't watched all of that. I see the beginning sometimes and I click it off because I can't stand to watch myself. But that was really interesting. That was shot at the O'Neill, actually, when we first did our Beatles show.
Mhm.
We, yeah, it's so fun. And really, that exploration of the Beatles and then subsequently Sting has been so interesting in terms of getting at the essence of a song. What is this song about? Like what does it actually, when I look at the lyric, what does it feel like? What what how can we best bring this to life?
Mhm.
Uh, and that's really, it's fun work. It's really fun work.
Mm. So let's talk about the year we've all been through and the pivot we've all had to make. And you've been incredibly active during the pandemic. You've someone who's been has continued to have content out there and making things happen. You did your series for a while, your Sunday Tea with John McD. Tell me a
Yeah,
little
did
bit
it for
about
a
that.
year. Yes. So it was Jim Caruso who encouraged me to do that. We were talking one day, early pandemic, and I was like, "What's going to happen? What's
Mhm.
happening? Everything's like stopped. Like, what are we going to do?" And Billy and Linda Lavin, Billy Stris and
Mhm.
Linda Lavin, had started their Wednesday thing, and I was saying to Jim, "Isn't this great? Like, we get a little like some." And he said, "You should do that." He's like, "People know who you are. You should do that." I was like, "No, nobody wants to see that." And then I started thinking about it. I thought, you know, it would be so fun is to do some kind of a series, just playing and singing. And so I kind of got back to my roots and um, loved doing it. I did it for 7 weeks in a row, Mother's Day to Father's Day
Mhm.
in 2020, and then realizing that that was way too often for me because there was other stuff going on too. So I went to a monthly, which worked really well,
Mhm.
first Sunday of every month, and I just wrapped it last month because now I am ridiculously overextended and can't do it anymore. I'll
The
come back.
world is coming back with a vengeance.
It
It's
really
like
is.
everything's exploding all at once.
Things and the phone's ringing and everything
Mhm.
is happening and it's great.
Because you're
Um,
also doing the 3 week series at Gulf Shore Playhouse this fall.
I did in February. Yeah, we did some COVID safe. We did 3 weeks of Cabaret. Clea Blackhurst, who I
Mhm.
adore, and Natalie Douglas, who, as you know, I adore, and Laura Lee Gayer, who was so great. She is a Broadway kid who is so talented and is from Naples. So it was fun to do those weeks with them, and they've invited me to come back in October. I'm going to go back and do 3 more weeks in October, and we're just starting to sort out what that's going to look like. But they are so great, so supportive, the most beautiful set and lights and wardrobe, and we were given such free reign to make some beautiful shows, and they sold really well. And so, and it's honestly, as you know, Michael, to be asked back is like
Mhm.
the goal
Yeah.
always, because you want to. I can. I mean, I think that's the greatest compliment and really feeling, you know. So I'm
What
excited to go back.
What are you doing with your new partnership with Fordham
So
University?
I'm about to a week from tomorrow. Don't even.
Again, the world's coming back quickly.
I'm so scared. Um, I'm going to be teaching a 5 week music theater intensive for Fordham University. It's the first time I'm teaching for college credit, so I think I'm overthinking it a little bit. My friend Jesse the other day said they hired you because you're not a teacher. You, but music theater is like the thing I know the most about in the
Mhm.
entire world. So it's going to be fine. But I really do. I want to do a good job, and I have a lot of stuff prepared. A lot of it will be music theater history,
Mhm.
understanding where all of this came um, from all the way back, and also rep, what songs might be good, what shows don't I know that I should listen to that might be good for my voice, and then we'll do a lot of performance, getting up in the classroom and doing, but all virtually. But we're working with, David Savella is this. We were talking earlier today. Um, is the voice teacher, and he's the big jam kazam guy.
Yeah.
And this technology, where we can play and sing at the same time over the internet using this technology called jam kazam. So it's going to be fun, and I have a keyboard here so that if I want to say, well, what about this, I can chime in and
Fantastic.
do that. So that's really going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. I'm I'm excited and scared, as Little Red says.
Well, you're also teaching in Oklahoma this summer.
Right. So right in the middle of Fordham, they were kind enough to. Well, they want professionals, and so
They understand
I actually have
what
one.
comes with that.
So yeah, so Kristen Chenoweth has a Broadway boot camp in Oklahoma every summer, and I became the camp director 2 years ago when Richard J. Alexander had to go off and be with Barbara Streisand. So
The sacrifices he had to make.
it's so sad, and it's his birthday today. Happy birthday!
Yes, happy
Um,
birthday, Richard.
so I happily filled in, and now we're the co-camp directors.
Hmm.
Which I love, and we're having such a good time putting it together. And lost my train of thought, but yeah, I'm going to go to. So Richard and Kristen and I, and sort of the core team will be in Oklahoma together, a Command Zero, and the campers this year will be virtual, so
Oh.
they'll be across the world. Actually, we have the Philippines and we have
Mm.
UK and Argentina, I believe, and so it's going to be thrilling. The little girl from the Philippines is so adorable and so good, and she's, I think, going to have to wake up in the middle of the night to take our classes during the day,
Oh, wow.
but she's down to do it, and she's wonderful.
That
Um,
is one of the fun things that we've realized out of the year we've been through is the reach that some of this art can have.
100%.
That you can now work with a student in the Philippines. Our last cabaret history class, we had a student coming from Scotland to
Nice,
take the history of the art form.
nice.
I think that's one
Yeah,
of the golden moments that we've found and hopefully can find a way to keep as we
absolutely.
move forward
And even at
and
the
as the world comes back to life.
right, right. Yeah, we've seen that, and I think that is valuable because of the technology. We can have some master artist teachers this summer,
Hmm.
some guest artist teachers come in virtually. So Faith Prince is going to teach from Sacramento, Betty
Hmm.
Buckley's teaching from Texas, and Barb Younger's teaching from London. Not all the same day, but uh, throughout the conference, so that they'll have that sort of that variety
Hmm.
of eyeballs and earballs and
So
and
for the O'Neill, all of the fellows be on
they're in
site.
person. Yeah,
Okay,
everyone
great.
else is in person. Um, but those three are going to come in virtually, which will be fun. And it's the first time we're doing that. But the National Theater Institute, which is at the O'Neill during the school year, has had great success, and they've got a wonderful setup, and they know how to do it, and that it
Mm,
can work really well. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
that's exciting. You're also working with Playbill on Playbill Pride for 2021. What's
Yes, I
happening
did.
there?
So we're so proud. I produced and music directed it last summer in the pandemic with a bunch of wonderful stars and a lot of songs and just a wonderful concert. This year, they've set it up slightly differently. It's Pride outtakes, and they're going to happen on different nights. But I've produced and arranged for and collaborated with Anthony Rapp and Max Crum and BD Wong and Caitlin Kinnunen, who is was the lead in the prom, who's so great, um, and El Morgan, um, uh, who I adore. So many great folks. It's going to be a really fun thing. And I just today sent off my last um, track to be uploaded onto the site. So my work is done on that. But that's all going to be presented in June. June's busy.
Yeah. The world, like we said, the world is coming back with a vengeance. It's
Yeah.
everybody's now, oh, we can start again.
Right.
Let's do it
Let's go.
all.
Let's go.
And
Yeah.
to if finding I've been talking with a few artists who've been like, it's hard to now, I want to do everything, but I need to find that balance that the year of rest provided us to know
Right.
that maybe what we were doing before wasn't sustainable, but how do we do all of it still and make it work?
Yeah. You wonder. And we've all had a lot of time to think about one another and
Hmm.
life and equality and
Hmm.
how the world has you know I have no words. How the world has gone on for years, under certain systems that are just, as
Yeah.
you said, unsustainable and not fair and not pretty. And so, how will we come back better? I think
Come
that
back better.
we
Yeah,
are
that's a great way to put it.
going to be changed forever from this.
Mhm. You've been doing a lot of composing over the pandemic as well. Some
Yes.
stuff with Barb, some other projects you've been working on. Anything you can let us in on, knowing the things that might be coming up?
Well, I've written the my latest piece is the Good Morning Campers song for Kristen's boot camp, which I'm producing, and Kristen and a bunch of us are singing on. It's like a little theme song, kind of like
Hmm.
the Rosie O'Donnell Show theme song that I wrote so many years ago. It sort of has that sort of up, peppy, fun thing. So that will happen every morning with the campers. And then I just today realized, because at the end of the week we'll do the Christie Awards, where we will
Hmm.
present um, awards to campers who were, you know, came the farthest, or that's stupid because nobody went anywhere, but most likely to succeed. All those crazy,
Right.
well, they're funny and they're camp related, and we don't know what they are until things happen in camp. So we give the awards the last night. So I thought today, what I've got to do is write different lyrics for the award show to the same melody, same song, but maybe a little bit grander and more not as morningy, but more eveningy. So that's on my to do list. So, but I've written a bunch of songs, and then, as you know, I produced a concert of a musical that I've written with my collaborator Scott Logsdon of Sticks and Stones, which is a musical that is wanting to have a life, and we hope that it will. But we did a virtual concert last fall with Josh Colley and Audra McDonald and Javier Munoz and Michael Kilgore, who's insane,
Insane, yes.
wonderful. So it was a really great experience, and 120 kids from all around the world. Again, we put out the casting thing on
Mm,
Broadway World and Playbill, and we're doing this thing, and come sing with Audra. And oh my gosh, we got over 1,000 submissions of kids, um, and Scott and I weeded through and
mhm.
figured out and wound up with a beautiful cast of young folks that I'm so proud of that piece, and actually hoping that we're just starting to talk with. So before the pandemic, so many things were lined up, and
Right.
one of the things that was lined up was the world premiere of Sticks and Stones at the Encore Theater in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My friend
Hmm.
Dan runs, and they work a lot with the University of Michigan
Yep.
students, who have one of the finest programs in the world. So that was canceled. That's why we did the virtual, but now we're hoping to get that back on track, which would be brilliant.
Fantastic. I'm from Michigan, and I will eagerly make a trip home to be able to see it.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I'm just about 45 minutes from Ann Arbor, so I'll go home, visit home, and come see your show.
Come see the show. I will let you know.
Well, I have a song queued up. That is a song that you and Barb wrote together. I think it debuted through the York Theater
Oh,
during the
yeah.
course of the pandemic, and it's a great, great notion for where we were at that moment. So
Cool.
here
All
we
right.
are.
The last one leaves and the doors close. Up many stairs into a quiet winter's night. The last one leaves no shadows, and on the stage a solitary light. Ghost light, the stages are bare, waiting, waiting. Ghost light, our spirit is there, waiting. Forbidden Broadway all echoes. The doorways bolted, no more stage lights burning bright. No sound of music, no dancing. But still on stage, that solitary light. Ghost light, though no chorus sings, waiting, waiting. Ghost light, we're all in the wings, waiting. And 50 years of theater, 50 years no applause, 50 years of musicals, 50 years no pause. Through dark times, light times, night and days,
Not waiting much longer.
Not much longer, but I will say the first time I heard that, it was definitely a song that brought a tear to the eye
Well, thanks.
as we were waiting.
Yeah, it was a dark place because I think the not knowing was the scariest thing of all. Will this be a year? Will this be 3 years? Will
Right.
this be 6 months, 8 months? Like, what is it? Like, nobody knew, and we were all, washing our groceries and
Hmm.
doing all these
And
bad
each
things.
time that those dates got pushed back, when it first, oh, it'll just be 3 months, or now it's going to be six. And each time that pushback happened, we knew it was coming,
Right,
but
indeed.
hearing it
Yeah, it was like a punch in the stomach. How about Hadestown today?
today's
We're
announcement,
coming back
right?
2 weeks
We're
early,
coming back earlier than everybody else.
and I've heard there's another one that's going to come even sooner.
Oh.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Well,
But
well, I will eagerly await their
that's
announcement.
the same.
I've gotten tickets already to a couple of things in that first, what at that point was the first week things were going to be open.
Right. So are you? But so you're vaccinated, I guess.
Yes, yep, fully
I'm assuming.
vaccinated.
So you're comfortable sitting in a crowded theater with a bunch of folks. I don't
I
think
am.
I'm not
I
sure I am yet.
especially when they're saying they're putting the protocols in place where you either have to show prove vaccination or prove a negative test that day.
Are they going to do that? Is that
So I've read that that's going to be part of, and they're going to put a
I know
testing
they're
center somewhere in Times Square.
I know they're considering a lot of stuff, but that would be fantastic.
I mean, that's what's making it, but it is. It's the vaccination's making me feel comfortable being out
Yeah.
in the cabaret rooms that are reopening.
Right. Right.
Being back. I'm back at Don't Tell Mamas a couple nights a week. I left there years ago and moved on to different clubs, but during the pandemic, I'm back.
Yay!
So I'm there and being in the rooms, where live music is happening again. We spoke before
Yeah.
we started tonight about last night going to see Billy Stritch at West Bank Cafe,
Fantastic.
and the music is coming back,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to be in a room with real people and
Yeah.
live music again
And there's
is.
a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is a lot to sing about. And
Mhm.
did you notice how certain songs did? I'm just wondering because Billy's so smart. I imagine there were some songs that had a new meaning all of a sudden
Oh,
because
completely.
here we are, and can you? I mean, it's nuts.
With what we've all collectively gone through over the last, 14 months
Yeah, never be the same
in a cabaret setting when the audience is there living through it with you. Yeah, things hit differently now.
for sure.
The one of the first live performances I saw last summer was KT Sullivan at West Bank, and KT retaught herself how to play during the pandemic.
Okay, I didn't
So
know that.
she was accompanying herself,
That's
and she did a version of "There's No Business Like Show Business" with some lyric changes about the world coming back,
yeah,
and sitting out on the street on 42nd Street, weeping.
just bawling.
Yeah.
Yeah, with hope and
Hmm.
it's scary, but that's great.
But we're coming back.
Yes, we are.
Um, we are quickly approaching when I need to turn questioning over to our lovely participants who are in
Oh,
the room. So I have to ask what is always my last question of these, and then I have one more clip to share before we go into the
okay.
audience question time.
Okey-doke.
So all of these, you're the 12th person to answer this. 14th person, because a couple of weeks we had two guests, a couple of
All
months.
right.
In one or two sentences, what is cabaret?
Life is a cabaret. Um, I think kind of life, because I think a little tiny sliver of life that's happening for you and this
Hmm.
small intimate group. Yes, it can be jazz at Lincoln Center. It can be a big, but mainly it's a small little group of folks, and a very intimate, uh, beautiful, illuminating um, time
Hmm.
and experience. That's my best answer.
That's great. That's great. I can, after we're done, I can share some other answers with you if you'd like. I've cut some of them together in a clip, so I can send it
Oh,
over to you
cool.
so you can see what some of our other illustrious guests have said. Here is a clip of you
Oh, dear.
receiving your 2001 Mac Board of Directors Award
Oh my gosh.
and performing in that ceremony.
Baby John.
Anyone can whistle, that's what they say. Easy. Anyone can whistle any old day. Easy. It's all so simple. Relax, let go, let fly. Well, someone tell me, why can't I can dance a tango, I can read Greek, easy. I can slay a dragon any old week, easy. What's hard is simple, what's natural comes hard. Maybe if you show me how to let go, lower my guard, learn to be free. Maybe if you whistle, whistle for me. Thank you again.
Oh, I'm so glad I didn't do the long version that night. That was just enough. That was good. Oh, that's the Mac Awards is a really scary place because everyone knows what's going on and everybody knows their stuff, and it's a tough room, but actually it's a beautiful room, and I love that community so much.
It is, and it really is a community. The art form of cabaret has a certain, as there's the Broadway community, as there's the other communities, our
Yeah.
world of cabaret definitely has its own community. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you're a part of it and glad you've
Yay.
been my guest tonight. I'm going to invite our participants to turn on your cameras. We'll do a little audience Q&A time. So I
Great.
see some popping up already.
Great.
Come and join us.
Yeah.
Oh, I love some of these faces that I'm seeing pop up. Some members of that community we were just talking
Yeah,
about.
me too.
Oh, some lovely, lovely faces. Also, if you don't want to turn your camera on, but you would like to ask a question, you can send that to me in a private chat message, and I will be monitoring that as well. Ann Tallman put something in the chat early on to share about her experience at the O'Neill Symposium in '99 with
Ooh,
Irv. And
yeah.
there was Julie Wilson and Sally Mays and Julie Halston, Text Arnold, Rick Jensen, and Lena.
Amazing. Dear Rick Jensen, we miss you.
Oh, what a shock. What a shock.
Really shocking. Really, really shocking. Oh, that's so great. Yes, Anne, I remember you from Sue's thing.
So if someone, yes, Anne, please share. What would you like to say? Do you have a question?
It was intense. Oh my God. I mean, I'm still in touch with all those people.
Isn't that great?
And Margaret Whiting was there. It was wonderful. Oh, I would go again, or I'd work for you. I'll work for you. I'll do anything. I'll work in the cafeteria. I don't care.
Isn't it a beautiful place, though? It really is. We're so lucky.
Any other
something in the water? I think it engenders spirit and growth and excitement and comfort. It's all of those things, I think.
Yeah.
Meg, I saw you raising your finger.
Hello, good to see you, gorgeous faces. I have a question, John. When you were at Carnegie Mellon and you were a student and you had this range of skill. So you were a pianist, you were a musician, singer, songwriter to be, performer, orchestrator. How did you navigate the choices of where your career would go? How did you give yourself all your pieces? And as you began to be a professional, how do you balance that? Because that's a lot of demand from the marketplace. And I can see, like, my assumption is if you're getting a lot of musical directing, how do you give time for your singer-songwriter self?
What a great question. Thank you. Well, I have to give great credit to Mel Shapiro, who was the head of the drama department when I was there. Mel had won the Tony for Two Gentlemen of Verona, the musical, which he directed. And Mel, so I auditioned for Carnegie Mellon as an actor, music theater. And
Wow.
I sang the soliloquy from Carousel from start to finish. And I think they admitted me just because I had the guts to sing the whole thing. It wasn't fantastic, but it was, it was where I was. And so I was admitted, and so went through freshman and sophomore year as an MT, doing acting, singing, dancing. And then Mel, who had noticed my musical gift and proclivities, encouraged me. He brought me into his office one day. I thought I was in trouble. And he said, actually, really want to say to you that we would like to create a program for you for junior and senior year that includes music, a lot more music, piano and arranging and orchestration and harmony too, and a lot of advanced music stuff, as well as, and I took his directing class, and but I sort of began to sort of shift my focus to music directing, which I had done in high school and junior high. I knew I could do that, but I still didn't think of it as a career until Mel really said, he was like, your acting and singing is like, but your music is like, way, and he reached his arm way up to the ceiling. And I thought, yeah, what am I, like, why aren't I really capitalizing on this incredible gift that I think my mom gave me, because she was my first piano teacher when I was 5. And music had always been in my life. And so Mel spotted that, recognized it, and then created this program. So I emerged, even though I have a drama degree, he really did point me on my path toward music directing, arranging, orchestrating.
And how do you, years later, balance that?
I've gotten to the point where I kind of do what I want to do. I just love arranging and orchestrating. I'm thrilled when I get a call to do a new show. Those new shows that I was working on pre-pandemic are starting to bubble to the surface again, which is really exciting. And people are starting to talk about, when could we do that workshop that got canceled? And when could we do that revival of this show that we were talking about? So I think the variety of things that I love to do and bring to the table make me super happy. I love writing. I love performing more now since the pandemic a little bit.
Right.
So it is juggling. I say to my collaborator on one new show we're developing and creating some demos, I always tell her that I'm like that guy in Vegas with the plates, and I'm got to spin this. Oh, got to get this one. That.
And they feed each other.
They do. They really do. And that creative spark, and that just keeps me alive. And I'm so happy and grateful that I get to do what I love to do.
You're an example of, like, trusting what's happening is supposed to be happening, and what's sleeping right now is supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
And then when it wakes up,
right.
Fascinating.
Here we go. But
wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Anyone else? I see some other cameras on. If you've got a thought or a Helene. Yep. See you waving there. Go ahead.
Helene.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say hi.
That's fine.
Helene was a fellow just a few years ago, and we had a wonderful time. At least I did.
We did, and last night I too was at Billy Stritch with Michael and Meg, and Michael asked me, like, what was, like, one of my, I guess, my fondest, what memories, and I just said my biggest memory, I think, was that I survived it.
Beautifully, by the way, beautifully.
No, it was great. It was just it was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. Honestly, I
So
mean, it was
happy.
amazing, and you were so generous with your time. Everyone was so generous with the time, and I'll come back and work too. In the kitchen with Anne.
Hey, this is a trend. This
You're
is good.
getting a nice kitchen staff, I'm noticing, John.
Could
This
be a
is
trend. And the other thing that was great too was with the juniors too.
yeah. Yes, we have a junior fellows program
Mhm.
for high school kids, and Brad Simmons runs that. And the kids do a complete show in 1 week. Brad and figures it out in advance, and then they come in and he teaches. This summer they're doing Billy Joel, so that'll be
Mm.
really great.
Amazing.
But they're really inspiring, aren't they?
Yeah.
Were you taking photographs last night, Helene?
No, I was just drinking a little some wine and eating.
I'm asking because Helene takes the most beautiful
Thank
photos.
you.
Most beautiful, gorgeous
I
photos.
appreciate that. But I am back doing that again, which is nice to see people perform again, not only just to watch them, not only, through your eye, but through the camera. It's just so exciting. As
Yeah.
Michael said, things are coming back with a vengeance. I'm thrilled.
Me
Thrilled.
too. Me
Mhm.
too. So happy to see you.
You too. Thank you for tonight.
Pleasure.
Any other thoughts or questions? I see a couple other cameras on. Yep, Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, Jackie. I remember you from Sue's thing too.
Right, and that's what I wanted to say to you. I wanted to thank you for being so kind and supportive to all of us in that class, and for illuminating just little corners of interpretation that were all about truth and all about being yourself and not trying to do a lot, but just expressing the essence of what it was about. And thank you for tonight. Thank you for being so open.
Oh,
And you have a bunch of really inveterate fans here, devoted, totally devoted. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. That was a great class. I really enjoyed that.
Too.
Thank you, Jackie. Anyone else? Nina, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, John. Hi,
Hello.
Michael. I want to hi, how are you?
Good.
For those of us who I don't live in New York City anymore, I did the O'Neill back in 92.
Wow.
Wow.
Way too young to have probably gained as much from it as I could have,
Might have.
but it has stuck with me for 30 plus years. And I've started doing cabaret work again, which is really exciting, and teaching a little bit out here. I live in Colorado now.
Oh, nice.
And through this pandemic, I just want to say thank you to people like Michael, who's put together programs that are virtual so that people like myself, who are no longer necessarily entrenched in the world, with access on a daily basis or a nightly basis, to be able to, take a class, to hear a lecture, to, watch your Sunday afternoon teas. I had so much fun watching, tuning in every once in a while here and there to all the different performers and the classes that were offered virtually. So I just want to say thank you, because there's a world outside of New York City where a lot of us are really trying to work on and refine the craft and the art form of cabaret versus a concert or the bad musical theater recital. And so just know that we're out there, we're watching you, and I thank you very much.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nina. That's
Thank
great.
you, and thank you for joining us tonight to be a part of this from Colorado. And thank you for keeping the art form alive out there. Like you said, and John was saying in the beginning, years ago, this art form was so much based in New York, and it is now finding. St. Louis has a lovely scene now.
Yes.
Chicago has a great scene. There's things popping up in Florida. Austin, Texas has a cabaret series.
Yes. Barb and I played it a few years ago. Stuart is so great.
Stuart's fantastic. And there's now, Detroit's building a scene.
Love it. That's great. I didn't know that.
It's so, as things are growing, it is great that this art form's reaching back out and finding its footing outside of New York and outside of London. And so that's fantastic. Well, what a joy tonight has been. Thank you all for joining. Cabaret Conversations comes back next month to start our second year with Susie Mosier as my guest.
You'll have no fun at all.
Oh, no fun at all with Susie. No. And so she will be my guest. The 92nd Street Y's cabaret performance connecting to your lyric class picks back up in 2 different sessions in July. There will be a virtual class, but we will also be doing an in-person class for those interested at the Y. So both of those will begin the 3rd week of July, I believe. And this class will continue. The conversations will continue. The cabaret history class will be back again as well. And once again, my utmost thanks to John McDaniel for being my guest tonight.
Thank you, Michael.
I will say now, I used to run home from school. The Rosie O'Donnell show aired at 4 p.m. in Flint, Michigan, and I would run home because your show was such a touchstone for me in my love of musical theater as I was growing
I'm so
up.
happy to hear that. That's great. That's
So it's
great.
an honor to have you.
Thank you for doing these conversations. It's really fantastic.
We're happy to document our little world of cabaret. And for those of you watching, all 11 previous versions of Cabaret Conversations recordings are available for purchase on the Wise website. So if there's someone that you miss that you really want to hear their take on the art form of cabaret, those are all there. So thank you. And John, thank you again for joining. It has been an absolute honor tonight. Thank
Pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Have a great evening.
You all.